Hello, everyone. It's Karen Burniston here with your class day recording for our December 2022 Spotlight Workshop. So we are featuring 3 dies this month. We're featuring our Label Charm pop-up die, then our Sewing Charms, and our Word Set 15 Just Because. And we are going to take those 3 dies and combine them to make a couple different pop-up cards. So the first one's going to be a winter theme. And we're actually going to do an extra technique of adding a pop-up behind the first 2 labels to allow for something to pop up. And in this case, it's going to be a cute little penguin. Winter greetings on this one. That's an A2 landscape card. Then we're going to make a bigger card, a 5x7 A7 card with a double pop-up cut into it. So cut through the front, cut through the back, cute little charms hanging in the opening. So you'll get a chance to, assemble this die a couple of different ways. Now, let's talk about class kits. What happened is you purchased a class kit from a participating store or from our website, KarenBurniston.com. And then about 10 days before class, you got an email either from the store or from us, wherever you bought your kit, that included these very detailed PDF handouts that also include your paper pre-cutting instructions and your die cutting instructions. And so that all was done ahead of time. Where you took your bulk materials and turned them into 2 class kits ready for assembly. So this video is the assembly. Now, if you hadn't done your prep work, that's fine. You can go back and watch that other video. You will find the link right in the top of your handout right here, or in the email that you got where you got your handouts. But then once you've done your prep work, then you can come back and watch this video again for the assembly of it. So I did that prep work and created my 2 card kits. We're going to start with card 1, which is the winter card. Okay. Now, what we're going to use to assemble these cards is going to be just kind of basic tools. You just need your scissors and your adhesive. Now, my favorite is using my glue. That's my Lineco Neutral pH adhesive in my fine tip bottle. We sell those items on our website. And then I keep a damp paper towel inside a jar, and I just make sure each day that I squirt that paper towel to keep it damp. And then that just keeps my glue flowing in between, applications. Pair of scissors. And then for styling the penguin, we'll use a white gel pen to put a little catch lights in their eyes. And then we'll use a pink colored pencil to give them rosy cheeks. So other than that, well, we'll figure it out as we go. I mean, you may want something like a quick stick or something where you can pick little pieces up and place them. That's kind of up to you as to how you craft, But I think what we'll do is we're just going to dive right in here. Got a couple hours to put these cards together. So I'm going to take all of those pieces that I did during prep work into my little tray here. Okay. All right, so because the Label Charm pop-up is sort of one of those double duty dies, which what I mean by that is like you cut it into the card, it actually cuts right into the card, and then it gives you the double duty decoration because whatever is on the label on the front, then when you open the card, it pivots to become part of the inside decoration as well. So the Label Charm pop-up is like a really good die for quick, easy, and extremely generic because there's no theme to this whatsoever. And then, of course, some of the decorator dies that you get with this set, you'll be using those on other projects as well. So just a really, really good generic pop-up die, simple, quick, and easy. But because it does get cut right through the front of the card, you actually had to do a little bit of your assembly during prep work. So during the prep work video, I demonstrated how we started by taking our A2 size card, this landscape card, and we had glued a piece of paper to the front like this. Then we had opened it up, and I had you use a template that we created to help you place your die right where it needed to go to be able to cut this pivoting label through the card. Okay, so that was done during prep work. All right, so that we've got the piece of paper on the front, and then we've got our pivoting label put inside the card. We're actually going to start. One thing that you may notice right away is, the front just feels so much sturdier than the back, and that's because we added that pattern paper to the front. Even though it's not necessary, I like to put a piece of pattern paper on the back as well, just to get that balance. I like it when my cards feel really balanced for weight. So our step 1 is going to be just to add that piece of paper to the back of the card. And you can use your favorite adhesive for this. So if you are a tape runner sort of person, you could use a tape runner for this. It's just paper to paper. So this is on the back of the card that we're going to add that snowflake paper. Okay. And then you'll kind of see right away, it just feels, more balanced for having that on the back. Okay, so let's open this up and do a little bit of this inside decoration before we get into the pop-up parts. All right, so we placed the pivoting label, which you get to choose where that goes. And for this card, we had you place it a little bit higher so that there would be some extra space along the bottom here that we are going to fill with a couple pieces of that Echo Park pattern paper that's being used for this class. And all of your supplies are listed by name in your handout. So if you end up wanting to get more of this paper to repeat these cards, you can do that. So we're going to take those 1-inch strips of pattern paper and we're going to glue those to each side of the card's interior, starting at the fold. And I don't like to bunch in the fold, so I lift my card up and just kind of come up to the fold. And then I'm going to leave a little bit of space down here as well. And because we cut this to 5.5 inches, this is 5.5 inches, that may mean that a little bit of my strip is hanging over the edge. And if so, I'm just going to turn the card over, cut that off. Okay, so I'm going to do the same with this one. So lift that up a little bit. And then just put that on, just leaving a little, little border at the bottom. You don't have a lot of room here, so can't leave a wide border, just a little skinny one. Okay, so since this is on YouTube, I have to try and remember to not go too fast because a lot of you may be crafting with me, and that is the idea of these classes, that you can craft along with me. But because it is on YouTube, you do have the ability to pause it, rewind it, to watch something again if you need a little more time, or if I'm going too fast on something, you can always just pause me. Okay, so if there were pieces in die cuts that were not part of the required dies, then those pieces were pre-cut for you. And for this card, not that one, there are actually 4 dies where we included a pre-cut or 2 in the kits. And the first one that we're dealing with here is our pattern plate snowflake. So this cuts a nice A2 size all over pattern of snowflakes. And what you did during prep work is you cut that down. The first thing we did is we cut the top and the bottom strip off of them so we can use those as borders. And then you took the middle part and you actually die cut one of the label shapes out of it, out of the snowflake pattern plate, and we'll end up using that right there. And then you even still had some leftover pattern plate, so I had you cut some individual snowflakes. So we're going to get a lot of use out of that one pattern plate. Instead of using it, just as an all-over pattern, we're using it in all these different ways. Okay, I think I'm going to match the placement of these that I did on my original, which was to have this snowflake that's cut off kind of end in the center here, in this full one, start over here. And then on this one, to line it up with this edge and then go out to here. Oh no, I guess I must have did it this way. Oh yeah, I did do it this way. That actually kind of looks better. All right. Yeah, because it almost looks like this snowflake kind of, continues on across the seam. It's not exactly the same snowflake, but it kind of gives the illusion of it. So we're going to use glue for that. This is why having glue in a needle tip bottle is so helpful. So helpful when you're doing little intricate dies like this. And sometimes people ask, well, could you have used like a double-sided tape on the back of the cardstock before die cutting so that this would be a sticker? You could. You absolutely could. But if it has too many little pieces and parts, like things, that have to fall out of it, then you end up spending a lot of time kind of weeding it. And I find that adding glue is almost just as fast. Okay, here we go. Got this side down. And I like that line coat because it dries clear. So if any squishes out, against that dark color paper, it'll dry clear. And we do offer pattern plates in several different styles. They're kind of a fun, for us with our specialty being pop-up dies, a lot of the times we're focused on the interior of the card where the pop-up is. And so pattern plates kind of give you a really quick decoration if you want to just sort of add those, to the front of a card. You can fill that in really quickly. Then you can do other little techniques with them. You can emboss them instead of cutting them, emboss them into the page. You can use them as a stencil. You can cut them apart like we're doing for this project. You do different things with them. They're fun. Okay. All right, the next piece that we're looking for is going to be that that piece of the Snowflakes pattern plate that we cut with the tabbed labels. So there is a die in the set that will cut a label with a tab attached, and that is used. That tab is used to actually make the mechanism, that makes this thing pivot. But you can also use it as a decorator die. You can nest some of the other dies in it and cut it as a frame like we did for this one. You can, use it just to cut out, say, a pattern plate and just get an all-over pattern in the shape of a label. So that's what we did. So if you have a little bit of the actual tab sticking out here, to one side, you can go ahead and trim that off. We're just going to use the middle part of that should fit that label just perfectly. All right. All right, and then we're just going to glue that snowflake pattern plate all over. Getting my glue all over, sorry. The back of this piece. And then that, since that was die cut with the label, that will fit on that pivoting label just perfectly. Okay, and then you cut a couple of the tabbed labels that had the smaller label, the dotted label, nested inside so that it would cut a label frame. And these are going to be used just as decorator labels, so they do not need the tab out on the side. So one of them is going to go right here over the top of that snowflake pattern plate to finish out the background of this first label. Let's see, I might throw, I don't know if I should throw a white paper under there. I see that I got a little bit of pattern plate kind of sticking out right there. It's probably part of the tab that I didn't trim off. Just get rid of that. Or I just didn't line it up perfectly, Absolutely could have been. It probably was what I did. Okay, cool. Problem solved. Yeah. Okay. All right. So I just basically wanted to kind of do the background of this one, and we'll decorate the rest of it after we get it all put together. All right. So now let's get out the two wood grain tabbed labels. So what these are going to do is they are going to connect to each other using that tab between them. So we're going to kind of make a chain of them, this one to this one, using that tab on the end. So the first thing I would do is work that tab out on the end of each piece. And you just want to make sure that you have both your tabs going to the left. And then this one is going to attach behind this one. And one way that you can make sure that you have a good stack of those labels for when the card is closed so that you don't see, so that everything stacks up perfectly behind this pivoting label and you don't see them until you open them, is you can glue them together by turning this one like a book and laying it on top of this one so that you can get everything all aligned, right? And then we just wrap this tab to the back and glue it down. Okay, so see, we're essentially just, instead of guessing where the best location is for it, we can put our adhesive on that little tab. All right, then we're going to turn this one like a book, lay it over the top of this one. Okay, and then just wrap that tab to the back. And then we open it back up. Okay, so now we have these two hinged together. Okay. Okay, and this one, and then it's going to kind of tuck under this one. So I think the easiest way to do that is actually to just go ahead and flip this pivoting label over. So here on the right side, I'm going to pick it up and flip it over. Okay. Then what I want is this tab to glue down right there to that side over there. Okay, and that way I can use, once again, the label to make sure that my whole stack lines up really well. Okay, so let's just kind of talk about what we're doing again, so that makes sense. All right, so we started here. We basically want to get this tab behind there. So we could do the same thing where we kind of flip it over the top, except for that's not where it ends up. Where it ends up is behind there. See, when this closes, see how those end up back to back? They don't end up face to face. These two end up face to face, but these two end up back to back. So it's better to actually assemble them that way. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the right side of this pivoting label, we're going to flip it over. So now we're on the back of it, the snowflake side. Then we're going to take our little tab out on the end here. We're going to add some adhesive to the top. Okay, we're going to fold it under, and then we're going to line this right up over the top of that label. Okay, so now we're essentially attaching these two together back to back, and then these two end up being, front to front. Okay, so now we have, if I lift this up, now I have this whole pivoting chain. Okay, so that's usually the easiest way to make sure that, because what you really want is you want everything to be hidden when the card is closed. So you want those to be really well aligned. Okay, so now normally, like when we get to our second card, you get to this point, you add some adhesive here, you close the card, it attaches the label over here in the correct position, and then you decorate it. But we're going to do an extra little bit of fun for this one. We're actually going to add a secondary pop-up in there. And so we're not able to attach this over here yet because it's going to be easier to do that when the card is flat. All right, so here's what we're going to do. Okay, you've got your whole set like this. You're going to take this and you're going to lay it out here flat. Okay. Then, and there is a good example of this. There's a what's the word I'm looking for? There is a diagram of this in your class day instructions. So when you get your class day instructions, you'll see that. So what we're using for this is we're using the little angle platform, one of the two angle platforms out of our Mini Pops pop-up. So this is a great little generic set of 4 little pop-ups that can just kind of be used on a card to pop up anything. And it includes 2 angled platforms that work the same, but one of them provides more motion. And the one that provides the most motion is the one that is the tighter angle. Okay, see, this is the kind of the looser angle, and then this one's the tighter one. So this is the one that we asked the stores to pre-cut for you, or if you bought it from us, we pre-cut it for you. So you'll need to get into your baggie and find it. And usually, if we're doing a pre-cut pop-up, something like a little platform like this, then we'll go ahead and give you 2 of them. And that's just because with it being a pre-cut, if you don't own the die and you kind of messed up one of them, then you wouldn't be able to finish your card. You wouldn't have a second one. So this one's kind of a backup or for your next project. All right. But if you end up wanting that die, it's called Mini Pops Pop-Up. It is listed in your handout by item number. Okay, so here's that little mechanism, and it has 3 score lines in it. And your first step is to find those 3 score lines. And I always think it's easier to see them from the side that the die has cut into. So in this case, the shiny side of the cardstock. I can see those lines, put my thumbnail in, and fold them. And it absolutely on this one doesn't matter if the shiny side is folded to the inside or if the shiny side was folded to the outside. It wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter. But I think it's going to be easier to attach the smooth side of the cardstock. So after you've found the 3 folds, there's one that folds it up the middle, and then there's one that's kind of in the middle of each of those legs. Once you've found those 3 folds, then you're going to bring it back out to flat again. And then there's a little I don't know why I'm having a hard time thinking of the word, diagram, I guess. Wrong one. That kind of gives you a visual of where we're going to glue it in. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this fold right here as the fold that's going to animate that pop-up. All right. So what that means is I'm going to take this white paper away here. All right. So you take your platform, and let's make it where it's pointing like an arrow to the right. And we're going to use adhesive just on the back upper platform, your upper panel. So basically from fold line out to the end are the only ones that get adhesive, and the middle parts don't. Okay. So this one is going to get some adhesive. Okay. All right. Then we want this edge right here to line up with the fold of the card. Now, that could be the fold here if you were doing it in the fold, but we're going to treat this area between the labels as our fold. So we're just going to glue it here, kind of like a 7. So we just glued this panel down so that this edge is right at the seam between those 2 labels. Okay, so just right there. Okay, and then you fold it on the middle fold so that the other half is sitting right on top of the one you glued down. So see, you can see my little pink pencil where I drew in the other panel that's going to get adhesive. So you've got 3 folds, 1, 2, 3. I want the middle one, which will allow this one to sit right on top of the other one. Okay, then I'm going to add adhesive on this little panel, and I'm going to close this label against it. All right, so I'm going to do that against the desk. So it's going to be a lot easier than doing it in the air. Okay, so I fold that down. I add my glue all over my outer panel. One has the pink mark on it for me. Now I'm going to hold that flat, and I'm going to close this label. And as I close it, I want to make sure that I'm putting that label back in that position where it lines up nicely with the label below, right? Because we still want to keep our stack when we do it. Okay. Now, look what's going to happen. As that opens, then that little platform, that little angled platform is just going to make this little kind of pop-up tint. See? And whatever we attach to that is going to, get motion with the card as the card opens and closes. Okay? So let's see. You can see it like that. We haven't put this whole thing together. That might be confusing because it doesn't look like that. Forget that one. Forget that one. We're not there yet. Okay. So we've got our little pop-up platform in there. And again, you've got a little diagram for how that's done, for future cards if you end up doing this again. Now, do you have to add a little pop-up behind there? Absolutely not. That's just an extra little technique that I wanted to show in this class. I'm all about it in classes. It's just kind of, showing different ways that you can kind of extend your pop-ups, make them something different. Okay, so if we were to glue a penguin right there, it would be too low. We wouldn't be able to see it in the finished card. So we're going to add that little piece of blue cardstock that you cut during prep work, and we're going to glue it over here to the left side so that it's sticking straight up. Okay, so just like that, and that's going to be what we're going to attach the penguin to later. So which side is the shiny side on this? It doesn't matter because it's really going to be hidden. You're not going to see it. behind there. I don't know if you can see. See right there? Okay. And you might be saying, hey, wait, that's the right side. Well, no, we're upside down, remember? So it's the left side. Make that piece go up, okay? And then as this closes, see how it's going to hide it? It's going to hide it in the stack. You're not going to see it. And then as it opens, it's going to pop it up, all right? So once we get this attached over here, okay, it's going to bring it up. Now this is going to be a little difficult until we get our penguin on it, but see? Right now it's kind of trying to duck through the thing. So just be a little careful playing with it until we get the penguin on it. But okay, so we've got our pop-up added inside there. We can close up the stack. Okay, again, just kind of making sure it's got a little play in it, you know, because it's only attached with those little tiny tabs. So just make sure that your stack is the way that you like it. And we're going to add adhesive all over the back of this label. Okay, and then we're going to close the card against the exposed adhesive. Okay, ooh, you know what? Also, as you close your card, if your card has any, before my glue dries up, I'm going to pull that back off there. Okay, when I said close the card, the other thing that you want to make sure is if your card has any slack in it, you know, that you're getting it to where it goes, you know, to the corners and stuff too. All right, so now comes the moment of truth, and you want to do this up because it's going to pivot this label out. So we open it, and we've got this. Okay, now right now you might get a little creaky, you know, where your little piece is hitting the card, but we're going to add a penguin to it, and the penguin's going to fix it all. Okay, so there you go. And you could put anything on that, you know, so it doesn't have to be a penguin. It can be whatever you want to use. Cool. Okay, so there's our sort of double pop-up. And what's nice about this die too is that it mostly, I mean, it's not going to lay completely flat, but it's going to be close to flat, so you can still decorate it even after you've, you know, kind of put it together. You didn't have to, you know, do every bit of decorating before you put the pop-up together. Okay, we are going to continue on with a little bit of decorating of these labels. So you should have a light blue frame that has an oval cut out of the middle that you did during prep work. We are not using it. We're just using it as a decorator piece, so it doesn't need the tab. Now, one thing I like to do is if I know that I'm going to be putting that decorator piece down into a valley fold like that, then as I take this tab off, I'm just going to take just a smidge extra. All right, so instead of just cutting it right on the score line, I took just a little bit extra, and that way it keeps it from bunching in that fold, because otherwise as soon as I close it, it's going to push the label, if that makes sense, if it just gets right up into that fold. So just by cutting it a little short, then it just is going to operate a little nicer. Okay. Now I could have done that ahead of time, you know what I mean? But sometimes getting it, like I said, in the popped up position, then it reminds me where my valley folds are and things like that, you know, makes it easier for me to figure out any kind of, you know, adjustments that I want to make to it. So this one's also going to get a frame. It'll be the dark blue. This time I'm going to take the tab, and again, because I'm in a valley fold over there, I'm going to take a little bit extra when I cut off the tab. If you can see, if I put that against there, you might be able to see. I did a little bit extra. Which side? Yeah, and that's the side I want to put in the fold. Okay. You can see that my wood grain on this one is not straight, but I don't mind. Doesn't bother me. Okay, there we go. So one of the goals with this class, we had what we'd kind of done is we'd taken our August release and we'd split up all the dies into the various classes over the different months. So December came down to these 3 dies. And I love these dies, but sewing charms, I mean, they're great if you have somebody that loves sewing, you can certainly make that. Now, I think there's really cool things you can do with them just for the puns, right? Because you're so whatever, I'm so happy you're my friend or whatever. So you could use them kind of just for the puns. And if you watch the assembly video on that die set, there are a lot of really cool cards made by our design team that show different things to do with them other than just, sort of as a literal, send it to somebody who loves sewing. So, or quilting or whatever. So anyway, so I took it on as a challenge. I said, well, I'm going to do a class with it. I want to keep my cards more generic. And so my first thought was, I'm going to see if I can do a winter card and still use those sewing charms, but use them in a more generic way. And so my thought for that was to do buttons, to do threads and buttons, just kind of going through in a winter theme and not have it be, anything related really to sewing, just use those as decorator pieces. So that was kind of the goal here. And then for a greeting, I went to our word set 3, which is our holiday set. So that comes with Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Winter, and Seasons greetings. So you can do winter greetings or Christmas greetings. You can mix and match them. You can do Happy Christmas. So there's different ways you can mix those together. And so we asked that be pre-cut for you out of black. Okay. And I just didn't pull it out of this paper yet, but it's not a sticker. You'll still need to use your glue. I just when I die cut mine, I just didn't pull it out yet. Okay. Now, can you substitute some other greeting? Absolutely. But if you want it to match mine, one thing that's nice about these little word sets that we have, and they're all the same. All the the word set 1, 2, 3, 4. Those ones that have a little small script words. They're the same size, the same font, so you can start mixing and matching between the sets. So if you had word set 1 that had birthday, you could do birthday greetings. If you had word set 2, word set 2 and word set 3. So you can kind of mix and match them. Word set 4 is like just popping up to say, and so you could say just popping up to say Happy Christmas or whatever. So you can mix and match them. And then you can also kind of chop them apart. Sometimes you can make new words by mixing and matching pieces and parts of different ones. So the team's done a lot of cool stuff with that. Okay, so I'm going to do a little bit kind of north of center here so that I can put that heart on below it. And I'm going to do straight across, but you can curve these words, they kind of look cool when you curve them too. You can, maybe you want winter to be, up like that. You could absolutely do that. So, yeah. And again, if I end up going too fast for you, just hit that old pause button. Have a fair bit of little wispies on mine. Get those off. Okay, winter greetings. And then below here is going to be one of those loopy hearts that you cut. So let me find the loopy heart. There's one. Okay. Put it here. Okay, it is time to assemble some penguins. So I'll set my card aside and get my pre-cut penguins out. And these are from our little winter animals. So the winter animals can do a hedgehog, a penguin, and a polar bear, or just a brown bear or whatever, just because you're always in charge of how you cut them. And so our little animals, they're small, but they're sized to kind of fit nicely on our pop-ups and things. And with the penguin, you should have the pieces and parts for 2 penguins in there. So let me show you what you got here. Okay, so in this set, the beak and the feet are on the same die. So I'll show you that on the die set there. Okay. So you usually cut out the same color, so that just keeps you from losing that little tiny beak die, because it'll be attached to those feet. So I asked that there be score tape put on the back of the cardstock when those are cut, so that they would be stickers. Okay. So first thing we're going to do is take our 2 black penguin bodies, and we're going to glue the penguin overlays, which are in white, to the front. Now, if there's any white paper in the eye holes, make sure you take that out. So the way the penguin works is that the black from the background just shines through those eye holes to give it color, so that you do not have to glue on tiny, tiny little eyeballs. It'll be put through. I don't know if you can hear Lucy. That's Lucy saying hello out there. Okay. So one thing I like to do is to add some rosy cheeks. And so just kind of below the eyes, I'm just going to take a pink colored pencil and kind of swirl some pink rosy cheeks on there. Now that's optional. You don't have to give your penguins rosy cheeks. And if you choose a kind of a dark colored pencil like I did, let me see, I usually have a eraser. Oh, that one's seen some better days. You can take a little color off with a white eraser if it's too dark. Okay, that there. All right, so then, and then the other thing I'll do, I'll do this first too before I put the beaks on. So then I'm just going to take a white gel pen and add just a dot of white in the eyes as a little catch light. Okay. Okay. Then I'm going to put on the beaks. Now, I find if I use something like a paper piercer or something, I can pick up that sticker beak from the backing sheet. What that is. And then just kind of put it where you want it. One nice thing about that penguin die is that the beak, the glue on beak, or the stick on beak, I guess I should say. Ooh, this one looks like it maybe didn't get cut all the way through. Hang on. Okay. Got to do a little surgery. I didn't check my pre-cuts. Make sure that it looks like the die slid and didn't get any pressure. Not the die, the cutting pad over the top. Solved. So one thing about this penguin die, if you wanted to use a whole bunch of penguins, because you were making Christmas cards or something, or holiday winter cards, that it also has a stencil feature the same shape as the beak. So you can leave that paper in the die and use an orange pen through there to actually just draw the beak on, and that saves you a little bit of time with those penguins instead of doing the glue on beak. So you do have that option with the penguin. All right, so one of our penguins does not need feet, and that is the one that's going to be behind the spool of thread. Okay, so I'll set this penguin aside to be that one. But this one's going to get both sets. And the reason for that is because we need to glue those feet behind the penguin, but they're sticky on the back. You know what I mean? So if I put my glue here, I'll show you what I mean. I know these are little small pieces here. Okay, so I'm going to glue that up behind there. Okay. Now, having sticky feet on the back, if I were gluing this to the card, like say this one, it wouldn't matter. But this one's going to be our pop-up penguin that's got to move. So I really don't want stray adhesive. I don't want those feet to be sticky on the back. So my choices are I could powder it, I could, press it against my clothing a little bit until it just, the sticky gets off of it. Or since I didn't need the feet for my other penguin, I can just stick these ones sticky side down so that now my penguin has feet, but they're not sticky because I glued the other ones behind there or stuck the other ones behind there. So you just use both sets of feet on this penguin. And then now, it's not sticky. Okay. So this one's going to be that penguin. This one's going to be this penguin. Oh, I forgot. We were going to add some little scarves to the penguin. So one thing that I like to do with these classes is I like to get you to cut as many pieces for the card as possible out of the required dies. And I will repurpose dies. I'll do whatever I need to do to get, to find pieces that you can cut out of the required dies for your prep work that will keep the stores from having to do too much pre-cutting. So there was a fair bit of pre-cutting in this card already. So instead of having them cut the scarves for you that come in the set, I thought, well, we can make scarves because we've got this really cool thread die that's in our sewing charms. And if you cut that out of paper like we did, so you should have 2 that you cut. Sorry, there's like 9 that are not, oh, there it is. So I had to cut 2 of those threads out of blue paper because I realized you can really just, now it's up to you as to whether you try and do a fishtail or whether you just do a straight across. It would look fine either way, but I'll just do a straight across. Okay, you can cut off the bottom of the loop, and then it essentially looks like a scarf, and you can put it on a penguin and even wrap the ends to the back like this, and then see how it just looks like a little scarf. So now, I mean, the die set comes with a scarf, so if you were doing penguins for something else, it's up to you as to whether you, maybe for some variety, you could give them some thread scarves, and some of them could get the die cut scarves. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing with this one. Just going to cut the bottom part of the loop off. Okay, get that on there. Wrap the ends to the back. Okay. All right, so let's now work on this thread spool. So my thought process anyway on this card was that there would be thread coming off the thread spool and going through the buttons, and maybe it would look like you created this heart out of the thread, and then it would carry on, and just kind of end back here somewhere. And then over here, we would do the same thing with some threads kind of going through some buttons, sort of ending in this pop-up penguin that's holding a needle. Okay. So for our penguin that has feet, if you take one of your needles, silver needles, and then we want to weave that through under this wing. That's the word I'm looking for. So you can kind of stick it through the wing so it's sticking up at some pleasing angle, and looks like I did it kind of coming up and over. Now I might suggest that you don't glue that down yet, because I'm going to just take a little temporary tape on it for now. Because let's get it in the pop-up and make sure the needle isn't a catch point anywhere, because you can always adjust the angle of the needle, so that it is in a spot where it pops up nicely. But it's going to be essentially something like this, where the eye of the needle is sticking out this side and the tip goes up about, on the penguin's shoulder or so. Okay, but let's not glue it down yet. All right, so then where that's going to go in the card is going to be attached to that pop-up piece right there. so that it will be hidden when the card is closed, but pop up when the card is open. And so placement might make a difference here because it could get caught in the opening. It could be not popped up all the way. So my suggestion before you go to glue would be to use some kind of tape runner. Okay, put a little tape runner, just a little dab will do you, on that thing. And then let's put the penguin, his right, your left side of him, should be, see how the penguin's going up on the left, what am I trying to say? The cardstock piece is kind of coming up the left side of the penguin. And I think that should work, but let's just see. All right, so he's hidden. That's good. So let's see if he hits the opening as he comes up. He does. See, he hits right there. So that's what I'm saying. If you use a tape runner, then you can change the angle or, okay, he's hidden. All right, so he's going to make it there. So here's what I had to do. See, he had to be even more to the right for this card. And I'm going to take a little bit off of that cardstock piece because I like where he's ending up. So he's hidden. I like that. And then I'm watching and his head is coming up and just skimming into the inside of the card, and you can see him there. So I might be able to even bring him up a little bit as long as he clears that opening. So let's see what happens if I put him something like this. Okay. So again, you can just, yeah, I like that even better. Okay. So I have to trim my cardstock piece so that I don't see it, but I'm just kind of making a note, as to what I need to do there. Okay. So then I'm going to take that off. All right. I need to take a chunk off that thing. See? All right. Then I'm going to put my glue on that piece of cardstock there. I'm going to remember that he was about here. And I'm going to test it real quick. Okay, he's hidden. Awesome. He pops up. Great. Okay. Yeah, I've got good operation of that. So that's kind of how you do it. You just kind of have to find the spot where he fits. Oh, oops, I just pulled mine off there. Oh, that's okay because I need to glue my needle down anyway. Okay, let me glue my needle down. Sorry, aren't you glad this is on YouTube so you can pause this and go back? Let's see. Okay, ooh, that's cute. Oh, that's perfect. Okay. All right, so you don't see him, it pops up. Perfect. Okay. All right. I'm going to keep going. You just hit pause. You hit pause if I'm going too fast. Just hit pause. Okay, we've got our 2 spools of thread. So we cut the one out of white, we cut it out of silver. And we're going to use just the center of the silver one to be the actual thread and glue that to the white one. So the thing about charms, we do a lot of decorator dies as charm sets. And their charm sets, they always have this little hole that you can dangle them from a pop-up. So when we get to our second card, we will be actually dangling our charms off of those holes. But you also have the option to just cut the hole off if you're not using it as a charm, and then it just becomes a standalone element. So it's double duty. You don't have to always use it as a charm. And what I thought would be cute on this one would be to have one of our penguins perched on top of that spool of thread. Now, one thing to know about the penguin is his little wings are kind of clipped down. There's a little section at the bottom where it's connected. So you just have to take your scissors and snip that little connection point, which allows you to raise the wings up so that the spool of thread can go under the wings. Okay. And then you can just glue, like what I would probably do is just add glue to the back here. And then get the penguin attached to the spool of thread. Okay. And then that's going to glue over here to the right side of the card. Now, you probably want to check and make sure that it's hidden in the closed position, because if you put it too far in, you're going to get partial penguin through the opening, which might be what you like. I mean, it might be kind of a cool look, but for our purposes, we're going to have it start out here, and then we're going to kind of do these threaded buttons coming out of it. So as I glue that down, I'm going to avoid glue where I want to be able to tuck a thread under that edge. So on this side, I want to be able to tuck a piece of thread. So I'm going to kind of anchor that by have it touching that paper at the bottom so it doesn't look floating. Yep, hidden. Okay. All right, so what I thought would be cool would be to have in the middle of this label would be the scribble heart, because that kind of is the same width as the thread, each part's of the scribble. So then it would kind of look like the thread was making the heart. So I'm going to put my scribble heart in the middle of that opening, and then I'm going to take one of my loopy-do threads, and that's going to essentially connect those two together, and we're going to string a couple buttons on there. So it doesn't really have to match mine. If you want it to match mine, I use the large snowflake button on this end. So I just use 2 holes. So I come up 1 hole and then just bend it down through the opposite one, and then just pull the button onto it. And then I'll put a small, that's just 2 hole, oh no, that was snowflake. A small one that's the blue, the light blue. So again, I just bend the paper through. Then you can kind of slide the button wherever you want it to go. See that there. And then that is going to connect the bottom of the heart and then tuck the end under the spool. Okay, so starting here, just lift up that spool. Okay. And then my next thread is going to come off the top of the heart and kind of go down here where it's going to kind of duck behind the Winter Greetings label. It's not going to attach to Winter Greetings. It's just going to be on the card itself. But visually, it's going to go kind of up and over and then terminate in one of those little loopy hearts. So for this one, I did a large dark blue button and then a small snowflake button. And my loop was up on this one. So let's see, large dark blue button. And again, I'm going to come from underneath, up 1 hole, bend the glitter paper down through the one opposite. And then for this one, it's going to be small snowflake. So up from underneath, over, through this. Okay. And I mean, you obviously can make creative choices if you have a better idea how you want to use these pieces or where they're going to go or whatever. Okay. And then when I first made it, I just kind of felt like just having the thread end and nothing looked a little weird. So I thought, well, what if it just ended in a loopy heart? So the main thing about the loopy heart is you just got to keep it to the right of the fold so it doesn't bunch up in the fold. So it just needs to touch the thread somewhere as though the thread were ending in that loopy heart. So that's kind of a crafter's choice as to location on that. That's just about a terminal for that. I don't remember what I did. Oh, I had it kind of going, show you, let's see, I had it kind of going up onto the thread a little bit, you know, so it almost looks like it's coming around and making the loopy heart. You know, that's not even really very visible. It's back behind there. Okay. Getting there. We are getting there. I don't even know how we're doing on time, actually. I should probably check that. I'm supposed to try to keep these to 2 hours if we can. There's like a lot of pieces and parts on this one. Okay, so here on our snowflake one, I forgot. I should have had you have that that oval in the center first. I thought it would make the buttons a little easier to see if there was a little contrast there. So that dotted oval that you cut can go in the center here. And you know what? You can close your card and then you'll be able to give it really good pressure. Because in the open position, you probably got a little hump right there. You know, it doesn't go all the way flat. So you can close it up so you can give good pressure. In fact, we can do this decor here with the card closed. Might make it a little easier. So all this is 2 glitter threads, each one, you know, with 2 buttons. So I did big light blue, small snowflake, big dark blue, small light blue. Okay. And on this one, the one to the right, the loop was up, and then the one to the left, the loop was down. So that you could continue it. Okay, so up through one, down through the other. Okay. Oops. And then small snowflake button on this end. Up through this one. Down through the next. Oops. Okay, so there's the first one. And then this one's going to be loop down. Let's see, big dark blue, big navy. It almost looks black, but I think it's navy. Up. Oh. There, and then little blue this end. Okay, so what we basically want to do is attach these 2 ends of the threads together so that we just have one kind of long line. That's what I did. So I attach this end to this end. Ooh, oops, sorry, it's hard. That glitter paper is hard to get the glue to stick. So try that again. Okay, so now I just have one double swirly do. And then it can extend over the edges, right? We just have to tuck. Well, what would be really good is if you keep this end out where it's not going to snag on the opening, you know, that it can just push straight through as the card opens. Let me show you what I mean by that. So see, this end is sticking out, but it doesn't quite reach that edge of the opening. But then this one is overlapping quite a bit, and that's fine because it's just going to lift up and go to the inside of the card. It doesn't have to go through the hole, but this end has to go through the hole. So as you're choosing a spot, just be mindful of the, ooh, always dropping with the adhesive down. Thank goodness for dries clear. Okay. Start up here. Cute, cute, cute. Okay, we're almost there. Actually, if I open this up, I missed one little bit of decoration over here, which is one of our threads. Loop up with a small snowflake. Oh, yeah, snowflake on the end. Snowflake button on the end. Just one button on this one. Okay. Ooh. Go through there. Thank you. Okay. And then I kind of thought it would sort of come to where this visually comes down. You know what I mean? So that was kind of my thought anyway. And then whatever hangs off the edge, you can just cut off. So, okay, so just kind of looking at where the thread shoots down from the center label. And then I used whatever the solid snowflake that I cut out of the snowflakes pattern plate. I have inconsistent ends on mine, so I'm going to cut them all down to the same bump. Okay, and then I'm going to, oh, I guess that was tucked a little bit behind the button, but I don't think it matters. It's just a, you know, throw it on there somewhere. Throw it on there somewhere. It's just a little decor. Okay. We're almost done. Card number 1. Okay, I'm going to close this up. And then here's what I did. The thread going through my other needle, and then one big blue button. And then down here, there's no buttons. It's just a combination of threads, snowflakes, and a loopy heart. And it just does not have to match this one. It's just however you want to kind of use those leftover pieces. But all right, so let's start with this one. Loop at the bottom. I'm going to go up through this one. Now, could you simplify this card? You want to make a bunch of these? You didn't want to have 8 million buttons to cut? Absolutely. Like, does it really even need this little embellishment over here? Probably not. So, you know, I just use it as kind of an inspiration piece and make your own creative choices to simplify if you need to simplify. Or you can sit in front of the TV and just put threads on buttons. You know, it's a pretty good TV activity, watching those holiday movies, which have already started apparently. So my students told me last weekend. Oh, well, by the time you saw this, of course, oh my goodness, sorry, it's going to be December 3rd by the time you see this. So yes, the holiday movies are definitely in full swing. So you could be watching that. I forget sometimes with these pre-recordeds that I'm recording several weeks early. Okay, so let's see what we've got here. Okay, here's what I think I'm going to do. I can't actually totally remember what I did, but I think I kind of made... No, I can't have done that because I had to get those snowflakes on as I went. Well, okay, fine. I guess the first thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to kind of copy the one I made. All right. So for this one, I had loop down, adhesive about right there so that I could have it. Oh no, loop was up. No, that's why. Never mind. Let me do another one. This one's loop up. Right. Okay, that's what I did. All right. So put a little adhesive, loop is up, put a little adhesive there so that it comes off of that loop and looks like it goes right into a loopy heart. Okay, so let me show you what I mean. Hate the glitter, not grabbing the glue. Okay, so I've got this extra little tail. Right. So loop comes over and it looks like it's just, looping right into a heart. Okay. And then I can use this one with the loop at the bottom to kind of carry on, but I got to get a snowflake on there first. So this one's going to come up and look like it connects this loop right here. Probably making this more complicated than it needs to be. I could just say, have fun making a loop-de-loop thread and snowflake and heart combination. All right, now I've got this. And I've trapped a snowflake on there. There's going to be a snowflake on this end too. Okay, see what I'm doing? So actually, all right, it's going to be like that. Yep, then I've got one more thread to kind of get me to the other side. And I just need to throw a snowflake on there. Okay, and then I can connect these two together. If this turns out like anything, it'll be amazing because I am just winging it, y'all. I am winging it, winging it, winging it. Okay, now this end goes to here. Oh, it's probably going to stick to my table and not to us. Oh, no, I did. Oh, gosh. Oh, no, no, no. Okay. All right, come on. Fall apart. We're so close. Okay, look. Basically made loop-de-loops with some couple trapped snowflakes. Oh, I need to get this on the card. This one's refusing to stay together. Okay. Yeah. Then I'm going to glue all this middle part down, and then I'll tuck the final snowflakes on and then tuck the ends down. And it's not going to look like my original. I can tell already I don't have the same angle or anything that I did the first time, but it's going to be pretty regardless, so it doesn't matter. I'm not sending the same card to two people, so it doesn't matter if they're exactly identical. All right, so this one's going to come over here somewhere. I'm going to slide this in the middle. I'm going to slide this in the middle. Yeah, I didn't even make it to the end. It's all good. Okay, then I can put snowflake out here through this end. Oops. Okay. And final snowflake right here on this end. It's kind of funny because the way these classes go is, I first do the design and then I write up exactly what's in the kit, and I need to get that sent out both to, my business partner and our team back in Kansas, and then also our stores so that they can make the kits. So I do that first. So I make sure I get all the things. And then it might be like a week or two later before I'm sitting down to actually do these handouts. And I make myself notes as I go to try to remember how did I cut the paper? What did I cut from each piece? All that kind of stuff. And I write myself little notes as I go, but sometimes I don't completely remember. So I had no notes about how I did this. I was just like, well, I guess we're just going to wing this one and figure it out. But there you go. There's our first card, A2 sized little label charm pop-up in a winter theme. Okay, time for card 2, and this one's going to go a little faster for you, even though it's got the double pop-up in it, because you know how to do it, and because we're not doing extra pop-ups and bits like that. Okay, and you've done so much of the work ahead of time, since we did have to do the cutting of the label charm through the front and the back of the card during prep work. So that will be something that's already done. Okay, so this is going to be a 5x7 card. And it had to be basically made in two pieces, a front piece and a back piece, mainly because even though, I could have done one piece of cardstock that was 10 inches wide by 7 inches tall. But then when you went to cut your label charms on it, you'd have to have a big die cutting machine because this would be 7 inches wide. So if you want to do it in a single piece, you would probably want to lower it to a 6-inch card so that you could fit it through your die cutting machine, or just do it the way we did it, which is you take your back piece of cardstock and you cut it to 5 by 7 with that extra 1/2 inch flap. So this one's 5.5 inches, and then we've got this extra flap. And then you cut your front piece to just a little bit short of 5 by 7 on the width. So we did 4 and 15/16. So we just took a 1/16 of an inch off so that when we glue this together, it won't shift it out. Okay, so that's what we're going to do first. So you're going to find your navy piece of cardstock that has the extra flap on the left. Okay, and then we're going to take the peach piece of cardstock. Both of these have the label charms cut in them because you did that during prep work. And then you want to make sure that they're lined up on the right side and top and bottom. Okay, and then I'm right-handed, so I think I'm going to hold it like this while I add adhesive all over my flap. Okay, close that flap. Okay, and there we have it. A 5 by 7 card that has 2 pop-ups, in it. One cut through the front of the card, one cut through the back. All right, so let's just start here on doing some of this decoration on the front of the card. Do I want to do that? No, no, that's not true. Let's do it on the inside of the card. I think we're going to do it on the inside of the card. Yep. Okay, so I'm going to open this up here, changing my mind. All right, let's find the peach tabbed label. That's going to be this one over here. And then in the center, instead of doing a closed label like we did on our first card. So on our first card, the center one was closed up and then we just decorated it. But on this one, during prep work, I had you cut it with an oval nested inside so that it's actually a frame that can hold a charm. Now, one thing that I discovered after putting it together is the navy cardstock was plenty heavy to do this in a single piece, but this was just a little flimsy. And so I ended up wanting it to be stronger. So what I asked you to do is cut this piece twice. And all we're going to do is glue those together, but you don't need 2 tabs, you just need 1. So on one of them, we're going to just cut off the tab. Okay, just one, because we need the tab on the other one. And then we'll glue this one to this one, and that'll just make it double thick, a little sturdier for the card. And then my thought on this card, once again, I was trying not to make a sewing card, even though we're using sewing charms. And so my thought was this could go to kind of any of your maybe crafty friends, or maybe you've got a sister that likes to do planners or something like that, because scissors, that's a pretty, maybe it could be for a teacher, right? So scissors is pretty universal. That's not necessarily just for sewing. So we're going to use the scissors charm on this one. And then this charm up here is actually is pre-cut for you. It's the camera charm is from a memory charm set. So I'll show you that set in just a second. Okay, so I've got these two together. Okay, and let's go ahead and work on dangling that charm from that opening there. So in your pre-cuts, you have a piece of black and white baker's twine, and then you have the pre-cut camera pieces, okay? All right, so this is from our Memory Charms die set. So the Memory Charms die set comes with a cute little old-timey TV and like an oval frame that can be used as a mirror, and then it's got a picture frame. So this is really good for going with like, our family room or our photo collage, or, it's just a cute little set. And one of the pieces in it is this camera. And there is a little stencil feature on the die to be able to add a little detail line. And so I asked the kitters, the stores, to use a white gel pen through the die to add that detail line for you. Then the rest of the white gel pen detailing is going to be done by you. Okay, so we cut the camera charm itself out of a black cardstock. And then I asked them to cut the ring for the camera out of black mirror card and then put the double-sided adhesive tape on the back. And we're going to use both pieces, but only one on the camera. So we're going to use the ring on the camera, and we're going to save that circle for another piece. So the ring on the camera is going to go right in the center, lined up with that bottom curve of the camera. And then if you like the look of mine, okay, then what I did is I took a white gel pen. Let me find one. The problem is I didn't pre-test them. I like to pre-test them and find one that's working really well. Okay, this one works really well. Okay, and I'm just going to trace around the opening. Okay, and then I'm going to do like just a scribble through the lens area like this. I kind of want it to be imperfect. Okay, and then I kind of like the look of a scribble in the flash area too. So I just scribbled up here in the flash area. But up to you. Up to you. You can style that however you like. All right, so what we want to do is we want to tie that charm on to hang in that opening. So during die cutting, you use the stencil feature on the die to be able to add a dot where the hole needs to be. So now we just need to find, pierce a hole. Oops. My goodness. This whole piece. There it goes. I was like, this hole puncher is not wanting to go through this. Okay. I got my hole. And actually, I'm going to make that pretty big enough to get that twine through. Okay. And then on the twine, you're going to use that, you know, there's plenty because we're just going to, so you can just kind of cut it in half. Let's just cut that in half. Okay. And then I think the easiest way to get that through that hole is to put some glue out on the end, or you could use a needle threader, but you can put some glue out on the end and roll the twine through your fingers, and then that gives it kind of a needle tip, and then you can get it through the hole on the thing. Okay. Now with our tab to the left, then we want to have our camera right side up, right? So we want the front of the camera to be there. And then I tied it pretty close. I didn't have it dangle too far in the opening. I just, you know, basically took the ends of this and made it a relatively close knot to the top. Okay, I didn't do a bow or anything. I just trimmed off the ends. Okay, there's my camera dangling in the opening. Okay, so that's going to end up going over here. All right, let's continue on and work with the pieces for down here. So for the navy one, we want the tab on the right because it's going to be attaching to this pivoting label over here. So we did that during die cutting where we put the location for the hole at the top with the tab to the right. So I'm going to mark or pierce my hole. That one pierced no problem. There. And then what we're going to dangle in this opening is going to be the scissors charm that we're going to make from the sewing charms. So I had you cut it out of silver mirror card, and then I had you cut at least the handle areas out of green. Now it's kind of up to you as to where you trim it, you know, to change from silver to green handles. I tend to just go kind of, I make it into two pieces. And by doing that, I just go to that little kind of spot in between them, you know, so that I have two pieces. And then I like to trim off the hole at the top of the decorator one so that I leave that as a silver hole, charm hole at the top. Okay. So now I'm just putting those green ones over the silver ones to change the handles to the other color. Okay, let me get rid of this. And then once again, I'll add some glue to the end of my twine. Okay, get through the hole. And then once again with my tab to the right, I want the scissors to be face up. So I'm going to come back up through the hole in the scissors. And then once again, I'm going to tie it off pretty close. You know, see this one. See, it's real close to the top there. Not much dangling because, you know, it's actually a little bit longer than the frame. Okay, so let's see. Tie this off. Okay, now trim the ends. Okay, got that. And then there are a couple little flowers that you cut from the Label Charm pop-up. And those would look cute on the edge of the frame. So let me find those. Here's the pink one. And here's the yellow one. And let's see, I guess I'll just kind of copy what I did before, which is adhesive in the middle and kind of up here at this bump area. You know, something like that. No real magic to it. All right, so continuing on, I'm just going to kind of make the pieces and then we'll just put it all together. So over here, we're going to be using the pink tab or pink tabbed label, and the tab should be at the right. So it is very important that the tab is to the right because this is for this bottom one. And the tabs have to go in the direction pointing towards the pivoting label. And what's going to go in the middle of this is going to be the dotted label where you isolated one of the cameras from the paper in that label. And we're going to glue that on there. Centered. Again, make sure tab is to the right. Tab is to the right on this one. And then to give that camera a little more dimension, I thought, let's add that circle, that mirror card circle that came from the pre-cut, camera center. Let's put that in the middle. And then I had you fussy cut that little heart from the pattern paper. And that can go in the middle. So I like to do that sometimes when I'm using pattern paper, as an element, is sometimes I'll just add a little die cut flower or heart or something, to it just to give it some additional dimension. Okay. Alrighty. Then over here, I'm going to take one of the ovals that came out of the middle of those things, okay? And in the middle of that, we're going to add the oval that has the flowers in it. Now, this is the oval charm, but we're not actually using it as a charm. So I can trim off the little hole at the top so that it's just an oval. And then I'll just glue that in the center of the blue one. Okay, and then that is going to glue to the center of our floral pivoting label here. Now these are not glued down yet. I just have them set there, but okay. Just kind of doing all the, it's nice to do the decorating, kind of while it's flat. All right, for up here, we have a dotted label that has some flowers in it. And then you cut the because, or maybe you chose a different greeting, just saying hi or just a note or something. But if you're doing it with the because, then that's going to glue over that flower label, maybe at a cute little upward angle like this. Oops, sorry. Oh, gravity, gravity, gravity. And then that is going to glue to, oh, that's right, this isn't glued down, so I'll just put it over here. Make sure that your tab is to the left on this one. Tab to the left on that peach tabbed label. Very, very important. Now, what would happen if you accidentally did it and the tab was over here? You know, it wouldn't end the world. You'd cut off the tab and you'd make your own tab and glue it behind there so it was sticking out this side. So, you know, it's fixable, but try to remember to have your tabs going in the correct direction for assembly. Okay, I left this one for last because this is the one that if you want it to be like mine, you're going to need your craft knife. So I did put that on the supply list. I rarely use a craft knife in class, but it had this cute little clipboard in the pattern paper. And I thought it would be cool to be able to tuck a little bit of the gist of the clipboard was like working, you know. So all you have to do is start at the center on the side and then just go along the edge of the light gray is what I would do. So the dark gray is supposed to be the shadow. So you still want it to cast that shadow. And then, you know, stop kind of up here where the navy turns to green maybe. So then you can get your finger underneath that. We can add something. In this case, our just greeting. So that's it. That's the only craft knifing that you have to do. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to make a little drop shadow for our just by gluing the darker blue one behind the lighter blue one and just offsetting it a little bit diagonally. And it doesn't really matter which diagonal you choose, but I, for whatever reason, tend to go, I offset it diagonally like lower right. But really, that wouldn't matter. So I take my light blue just and I put it over the dark blue one so the dark blue one sticks out a little bit lower right for me. Okay. And then I am going to tuck just a smidge, like probably just the, well, let's see, probably just really the end of the just is gonna, the tail of the just could go underneath there on that label. It'll be enough to kind of lift it up and give it some dimension. Okay, let's see how I can do this. Like that. Something like this. Okay, and then this, we can actually glue it down to our peach label inside the card. So the pivoting label is going to be peach side. I'm going to glue that just to it. And then because this kind of has a little bit of a planner feel, I thought using that loopy heart as like a paper clip would be kind of fun up here in this corner. So to do that, I just put the loop part to the back. I can add some glue, you know, to the loop on the front because it's going to go to the back, and then, you know, a little bit under the tip of the heart. Oh, gosh. Okay, well, apparently that's all falling off. So something like this. Okay, and then the last thing that I'll put on this card's interior before I, you know, assemble all my pop-up labels is, I really debated on this, but I kind of felt like this side over here just felt a little, the peach side felt a little plain in comparison to all of this fun business over here. So I cut a little strip of navy and a strip of the floral paper to fit there. Now that navy just basically barely fits in that distance. Okay, but it should fit. If it doesn't, you might need to shave a little bit off of it, but it should fit there just barely. Okay, top to bottom, because that's actually the same height as the card itself. And then the floral piece. Over the top. And I feel like with the first card, it took a little while to put that together because we did have like all those pieces that we did with the buttons and the threads and, threading the buttons on the threads and all that, and then doing the extra little bit with the pop-up penguin. But this one probably is a little bit more representative, I guess, what I will say, of how quick and easy this die set is to put together. It's really not difficult, and it does go together very quickly. And you can do so much of the decorating before you've put it together, just making it a lot easier. Okay, we are ready to assemble pop-ups now. So we're going to start up here with the top one. And if you remember from our first card, the goal is to get the tab behind, the tab from the right side behind the one on the left, but we want those to line up perfectly. So if you work that tab on the peach one, okay, and then you add adhesive to that tab, what you can do is turn because over like a book so that it's sitting right on top of that camera frame. Okay, and then once you have it lined up perfectly, then you can wrap the tab around the edge and to the back of the frame. And then that those will sit right over the top of each other in the closed position just perfectly. Okay. All right, and then let's just kind of assembly line this. We're going to do that down here as well. But this time we're going this way, right? So it's the tab on the right of the camera one, and we want it to sit, on top of this one. So we add our adhesive here. Okay, we turn it like a book so that we set it right on top of the scissors frame. And once it's completely lined up, then we wrap that tab to the back and attach it so that now these two are hinged together, but will line up perfectly over the top of each other in the closed position. Okay. All right, so if you remember from the first card, for attaching this set to this set, we need to flip this one over first, and we need to do it from the right side. So we're going to take the inside edge for us on the just, flip that over, okay? And down here, we need to do the inside edge again, so now it's going to be the left side, and we're going to flip it over. Okay, so we've got cameras showing right here. We've got navy showing right here. All right, and then this little set is going to glue with just that tab to that one. So this tab folds under. We add some adhesive here. Okay, we fold it under so that we can attach it to that left edge of our pivoting label so that the whole set lines up over the top of each other. Okay, so all we did is attach this tab underneath here, and we did it in the closed position so that we know everything will line up when the card is closed. Okay. All right, and we're going to do the same thing down here. We're going to take this tab, we're going to fold it to the back, and then back out again. Then we're going to add some adhesive to it. Okay. And then we want to fold up this set. This time it's going to attach out here on the right side because it's opposite. So it's always the outside edge of the flipped over label, where where the center one is attached to it. Okay, and now we've got this set, little pivot. This. Okay, now this is going to be a little fussy, and we might have to do it one and then the other. I don't know if we can do the whole thing at one time. Let's do this, just this one, and then we'll do this one. So once again, we're going to add our adhesive just like we did on the first card, all over the back of that top label. I'm going to make sure that my stack looks, you know, like it's right over the top of itself. And then I'm going to close and make sure this doesn't fall into the adhesive or anything, but I'm going to close the card and I'm attaching it right there. Okay, if I flip this over, you can see that I've just attached the because label over here exactly in the right spot so that in the closed position it all lines up perfectly. Okay, and then now we're going to do this one. So I'm going to get that charm to lay down in there. Okay, so I'm going to do my stack. Okay, I'm going to add my adhesive all over the back of this label. Okay, make sure that everything's lined up really well. Keep it nice and flat. Close the card this way. Okay, moment of truth. We have it. We have our double. Make sure my camera lays the right way. So there it is. Isn't that fun? So fun. Now, my thought was that this little thing would be the place where you could sign the card or write your personal greeting. Now, you don't want to try and do that with the card popped up. When you want to go to sign it, just flip it over in a flat position. You can write on that. And then it'll be, you know, it'll be a popped up little greeting right there. So, okay. That is it for the inside of the card. See, this one went together really fast. It's, well, some of you are like, well, I had to pause you like 6 times. I just thought this paper was, there was a journaling card that said, be awesome today. And I thought it would be kind of cool that on the close, it would say, just be awesome today. And then when you open it, the just pivots to the inside and becomes part of the rest of the greeting, just because, or just a note, or just saying hi, or whatever you chose. And so I'm just going to glue this on here, kind of in this lower right corner somewhere. That's really your choice as to where you want to put that. Okay, maybe something like this. Okay. And then you cut a scribble heart out of navy. I'm going to glue that on. And I just did it with the point right at the seam next to the be awesome today. Then I had you cut the scribble heart out of silver glitter just so you could get the center part. So you've got this set basically left over, right? Which is the silver glitter heart, and then the navy one to go inside. So maybe you want to put that somewhere else on the card, or for a different card, or on the back, or something like that. Nested this inside here. And then the last little bit of decorating I did was the small button and the needle that was cut out of the silver mirror card. And I went from the bottom with the needle up through one hole, and then I just bent it and got it through the other one, and then just pulled it through. So the needle is basically threaded in the button, and then I just glued that on, something like this. You might use adhesive kind of everywhere on that, because that's going to be, that'll flap up, you know, and be a little weak, I guess. If not, so I would go ahead and glue it all down. And that is it, y'all. That is card 2. I feel like we got that one done really fast. Of course, I was kind of going a little fast too, because I knew I'd use more than half of my time on the first card. Yeah, so, okay, well done. And then that's a 5x7 card. So that will fit in an A7 envelope. And then this one's an A2 card. So A2 envelope for this one. So with my last few minutes, I did just kind of go dive in the sample bin and see what I could find for other ideas using the label charm pop-up. So this is the one that's actually on the packaging. It says just a note, and then has the little oval charm hanging in the opening. So that little oval charm that comes in the set. And in this case, I just decorated both sides so that regardless of which way it spins, it'll look great. And that's an A2 size landscape card like the one we made today. And you can see all those little pieces and parts that come in it. The Just a Note set as well. Now here is a card. I am not going to remember which design team members made each of these cards. I know in the assembly video for the label charm pop-up that I do identify who made them. I think this might be Lois, but I'm actually not sure. So she did a just B cause. So that's when we were talking about how you could she just added another E. So she cut the B cause and then added an extra E from the set. So that's just B cause, and then used our flutter charms and then put the cause again on the inside so that I know this is Lois because I remember she did the upside down floral border, which I thought was really cool on this one. So again, A2 size card. Here's one by Sandy Diller. And this is kind of one of those ones I was talking about where you can kind of use the sewing charms just as a kind of an element of a pun, right? Love you sew. And then she's got all the little sewing charms in there. I think that's super cute. And this one's a mini slimline. So like I said, the pivoting label works if you will put the center between 2.5 to 3 inches off the fold. So if you do it at 2 3/4 for an A2 size card, then that's exactly, centered. But it can also go in the middle of a 6-inch card like this, or it can go in the middle of a 5x7, which I think maybe this one that Karen Aiken made. Well, this looks square, but well, it's not like I'm not sitting on a grid here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This looks like 5.5 inches by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5 inches by 6. And she this little Halloween card. Super cute. So you see, it's just so generic, you just be able to use it year round. I like the label charm pop-up. It's kind of one of those ones where, you need a card quickly, like, oh my gosh, I just got, invited to something, or I need a quick thank you card or something like that. Because of that double duty decoration that the label pivots, it really is good for that. Lois, look, I wrote Lois on the back of this one. Yeah, Lois made this one. Mini slimline in a Halloween theme, using the label charm pop-up. This is another Lois card. I just wanted to show it because of the sewing charm. So it doesn't use the label charm. It uses our landscape accordion. But I just thought this was really cute with all the little sewing charms on it. And this is just a stamp set that she had. We don't do stamps. So the team will often use their favorite stamps from other companies on their samples. And then this one by Fran Sabad on our design team, where I just love how she used the sewing charms to, all these rows of things on the front for this thank you card. And then the cat, I popped it right up off the screen. The Catherine label pop up, and then see So Nice down here. So yeah, so those are just some ideas for using those dies that were the required dies for this month's projects. And I hope you had a great time making our 2 label charm dies. Again, you could contact either one of the stores that's selling kits, or on our website, KarenBurniston.com, go to kits and classes, and you can see if we have any left. And you can still do this project. You can just refer back to this video, and you've got the prep work video, and you can make it on your own time frame. So thank you so much for joining us. This has been a lot of fun. Thank you to Stamp and Scrapbook Expo for hosting us. This is our final Spotlight workshop of 2022, but we will be back with more Spotlight workshops next year, and our first one will be in March.